But all right, so the first thing I like to do whenever I come into a situation where the GlobeCaster's maybe been on all night, or I don't know who was here before me running it, I like to come in and do what's called a GlobeCaster reset. So in order to do a GlobeCaster reset, you can come to the Start menu, and it's sitting here right now because I've recently used it. But if you don't see it here, Programs, GlobeCaster, and then GlobeCaster Reset is the first thing in the list. So by doing a GlobeCaster reset, what does that mean? What it means is the hardware will, all the drivers for the hardware will be flushed out and reloaded. And it sort of, just brings everything to attention and, from a starting point, standard starting point. This one? Okay. So after you do the reset, it really doesn't do anything, it just sits there. So you got to launch the software. I've created a shortcut on the desktop called GlobeCaster. So we'll open that up, and in this situation, I'll have two monitors selected. I'm going to go to Applications, Monitor 1, which is my monitor on the right, and I'm going to choose Switcher. Okay. So by default, whenever Switcher loads, you're going to see what version of software you're running, which is helpful in tech support. If you ever have problems and you want to email us and say, hey, I'm having this problem, it's nice to know what version of software you're running, just so we can keep track if it's a bug or something we've already fixed or not. While it's launching, you're going to see on your television, your output monitor, you're going to see color bars, and then it'll go to a GlobeCaster splash screen. We can change that to be an ITV logo if you want. It's easy to do. You just go to Figure in the Switcher interface, which is over here on the right-hand side, and then you're going to choose Global Settings. And this is where you have an opportunity to change the default logo that comes up. So for example, if you'd rather have, I don't know, a picture of the beach or a kangaroo that comes up, you can just, it does have to be in our file format for it to work. So if you took your ITV logo, you'd have to save it out as a .tfs file, which basically means you would load it up in the character generator and just save it again, which will automatically put the .tfs file. But let's put this Bengal tiger on there, not to be too cliche, but I don't know. You have Bengal tigers? Probably that's more in India. India, yeah. All right. So anyway, that's the image that will load next time we launch the software instead of the GlobeCaster logo. Okay. Right? And all I did was just drag and drop the picture file over here. That way, in worst case scenario, if you ever do have a crash live and you need to reset the software, you won't be staring at a GlobeCaster logo whenever it comes up. You'll be having your own logo up there. This is the Switcher interface, and for the guys that went away and they're back now, you may recognize that the interface looks a little bit different than earlier. Earlier it was 4x3 in the middle of the screen, and we've expanded this screen to fill it. Basically all that's done is added this area over here for a bin and moved the rest of the interface over a little bit. Also, there's a second monitor setup that I'm currently using to record this video, but we can also use that for opening the character generator on an independent monitor if we want, which we can do that in a little bit. I'm going to go over some of the basics. I know you guys have been using the system for a long time. I just want to make sure that, again, it gets recorded for the future, and also maybe there's some stuff you didn't know about. So starting on the top left, this is a effect sampler bin. It has a bunch of different effects that come with the GlobeCaster. These bins, all three of these bins, I'll just kind of move them around so it makes sense on tape what I'm talking about. But these bins here are all just folders on your hard drive on the computer. They can also be folders on a shared network drive or even a thumb drive that you have connected to the computer. To see where they are on the computer, you can click on the A button, which is Attributes, and you can see then where it's located on your C drive, GlobeCaster, bins, effects sampler. This one is going to be in stills, natural. This will just be bins over here. You can type in here if you want to go somewhere quickly. If I wanted to go, for example, into PFX, and for some reason I didn't want to just click on the full PFX, you can type in a destination. You know, if you just want to go straight to the C drive, you know, you can do that. That's navigating around in the bins. Another way to navigate your bins is to use this parent button and the home and back button. So home is going to take you wherever your layout file has saved the bins to be, and we'll show that in a second, how to save a layout file. This is a default layout that comes with the GlobeCasting. It kind of comes with the monitors here and the keyboard and mouse. I'm sorry, the input keys here. All this stuff can be modified, you know, however you want. If you want to create a bunch of different bins, and you know, maybe have another object open like a audio module or something like that, you know, you can kind of move those around and modify it. But anyway, navigating around home, back will take you to a previous folder. What I use more than anything else really is this parent button that you can find, regardless of whether or not you've expanded your attributes. So that's the typical view right there without this string where you can see all that. If you right click on the parent button, you're going to get a pop-up window that allows you to go, you know, back to the GlobeCaster or the C drive. You can get to your desktop, your logical drives, which is your C drive or your D drive or your USB drive that's connected. But what I'm usually going to is the time machines. Time machines are the things that we installed the hardware for earlier, the hard drives, you know, and the cables and everything. That's our internal clip store, and it allows you to record playback clips. So the one that you guys have been using is this TMV_0, and this is a set of drives that has some video recorded on it. It's just kind of a quick way to get to the content that's on the hard drives. All this content, you know, dates back like 2002. You know, there's some old stuff in here. I bet you I could probably find Chris in here somewhere if I looked hard enough.
I know. Because he was behind the screen.
Oh, he was working. Okay, he wasn't on camera. So, you know, some of this content you've created in other places, I'm sure, you know, and then brought it in. So here's a clip that was obviously made in After Effects or something like that, and is brought in. So what I did was I just double clicked on the file that I wanted to load, and it loaded up down here to what we call our soft buttons area, which, you know, can be time machine clips, can be frame stores, could be keyer frame store, which is something new we'll go over. But the unit is capable of playing back up to 4 clips simultaneously.
Okay.
And the way to get that to happen would be to have a clip playing, or even just load a clip. So, for example, I've loaded up this one here. It's called TM5. I'll load another one up. It's also going to be called TM5. There's this tiny little number next to it that you really can't read. So TM5 has a number 2 next to it. TM5 has a number 1. You'll also see over on your inputs over here, TM next to it. That's not trademark. That's, you know, time machine. And what that's telling me is that inputs number 5 and input number 6 are being possessed by the time machine right now. So in other words, if you were to be watching camera like 5 and 6 here, and let's just say we had them both up on program and preview. What would happen if you selected time machine, or let's say we just loaded a time machine clip up? I'm going to go ahead and unload these. What will happen is these sources will go away. So if I double click, boom, obviously it's on preview. If I load another one though, it actually takes over 5. See that? So instead of staring at a camera now, I'm staring at a time machine clip. We're going to solve that by moving those inputs forward in the box. That'll be something I do at the end of the day today so that they don't get stepped on. So this time machine has some content on it, and you can see we've got these 2 clips, and you know, we can play them back simultaneously, you know, dissolve between them, run special effects and whatnot. I'll just pull up a new effect that I've just installed. So we'll go into PAL Dual Warp, Live Boxes, and this one maybe doesn't take very long. Okay, so auto. So now you can see on the screen here and on the TV in the room, you've got two different Time Machine clips playing back simultaneously. If we want to get a couple more, what we're going to need to do is record some clips to that other volume that we have installed. Right now, there's no content on the other Time Machine. So, what does that mean? It means you're going to open up our panels. You're going to open up VTR transport. We need to change which volume or which Time Machine we're recording to, which I think we might actually have to go into another panel to do that. Let's do this. Instead of VTR, we're going to go to Panels, and then we're going to go to TM Clip Playback DDR. Okay? I'll slow down a little bit. I feel like I'm going pretty fast, right? Okay, so I've got these two clips playing back, right? And this special effect is going on. Maybe I'll put another special effect up. Let's go into our effects and DSK. Let's see, DSK1. Where do I have DSK1 at? There it is. So we'll pull up this one right here. I just selected a DSK. I'm dragging and dropping it. Actually, I don't want to put it there. I want to put it here, and I'll tell you why. Okay, so this DSK I've loaded twice. At first I loaded it into DSK1, which is a mistake. Why is it a mistake? Because when I run this effect, what's going to happen is it's going to kill this effect, and I don't want that to happen. So it's like, see that how the effect went away just by running that? Okay. The reason for that, the reason for that is this first layer of downstream key is in use right now by this effect. And just to look at the interface, the only thing that is this yellow light right here with these little lines that go from this effect to this box. If I unload this, watch what happens. We'll unload DSK1. Okay. So when I did that, you can see that that's still lit. That means that no matter what I put in here, it's going to take possession of this DSK. So if I want to run a DSK on top of this effect, I have to go to DSK2. In fact, we're going to set the default load path for DSK2. Okay. This is how you choose where things get loaded. Yeah, and you have 4 layers. So let's go ahead and run it. Now you can see the effect is actually running with the DSK, or with the DSK on top. And we can add another one, and we can add another one. Right? So all of a sudden it gets kind of crazy on the screen there. So we get rid of all that.
While we are on this, if I get information right now that put a scroll, so of course I have to go to character generator. The moment I do, I lose all that in my existing GlobeCaster. Does it do it here as well?
No. There's a couple of things now in the new software. So you can have character generator open. So we'll just go ahead and open character generator up.
See, we used to lose here. The moment we
never had this case 2 thing. We had the one.
Yeah, that's the main difference. Adding the additional DSKs allows you to make changes and then update it. Yeah, and so depending on what DSK layer you're using, so you can set the default here. For example, if I want the default changes that I'm making in character generator, I would change it here. I'd say use as default for CG. Okay, that's on DSK3, right? So what that is, if I'm in the character generator, and I type something in and I want that to be on screen, it's actually up there. Let's make it a little bigger, and we'll make it have some color to it. So it's actually using DSK3. Can you see where it says CG here? So instead of using DSK1, which would have killed that effect, just like the other DSK did, So, you know, and if you want, you can actually leave this up, and there's an opportunity to turn on what's called auto preview. And what this does is it allows you to update in real time, but it's going to be shown in real time. So if I say, you know, Mike Binky is here, right? It's actually being put out on air in real time. You may not want that. You can change your output to be over preview if you want this overlay channel. We set that to preview. I don't know why it did that. You might have a bug. That's weird. We might have a bug, I should say, not you. So anyway, I don't know. You probably don't want to be in auto preview very often, but you might have a situation where, you know, you have something down below like a score or something if you're doing live sports coverage, you know, where you might make a change and then yeah, turn it on and turn it off. So anyway, what I'm doing right now is I'm working off this one monitor. Like I said earlier, we could have it on this monitor as well. I'll just minimize the recording. We don't really need to stare at that, and I'll open it up over there. So in order to do that, I'm going to, instead of being on monitor 1, you remember how I went into the monitor 1 folder earlier? I'm actually going to go up or back and go into monitor 2, and then we'll open the character generator there. Right. So now we have character generator open on one screen and the switcher open on the other. Right. So now you could have a title loaded up, maybe like this one here, and obviously, you know, there's nobody here named Vance Thornhill. Right. So we're going to change that. We're going to say, you know, ITV CEO, say Farad Omar. All right. So now he's out there right now talking, and you know, you want to throw a graphic up over him, you know, you can just bring it up here, drop it. You know, if you want it to dissolve in, dissolve out, you can go to page properties, set your fade in value. I'm thinking in C all the time, so I'll push 30 instead of 25 like 100 times while I'm here. But it doesn't really matter. This thing knows how to handle that. So now I've got a fade in and a fade out. So in this situation, you could have a second mouse maybe, or you could have a numeric keypad where you're loading content into the character generator and then taking it to air with auto. Or you can, you know, have a second mouse and somebody, you know, if you wanted to work with 2 people, you could have somebody else loading up your graphics.
Can you time that? Text them. Can you time it in and out?
What do you mean time it?
Like, you know how you click on to show it?
Right.
You click add to show it.
Auto.
Auto, sorry.
Yeah.
And then you click out, right?
Right.
Do you have to be there, or can you time it in for like 10 seconds?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
You could. What you would end up doing is building this, instead of building this in a character generator, you'd build it in what's called the animator compositor.
Okay.
And it would be literally a 10-second clip.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you'd have to recreate it every time for a different name.
Correct.
As opposed to just typing in. And
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
These you can edit all the time at any time.
Correct. Yeah. So you just
also will take it live in and out.
Correct. You could also hit it over here. If it was saved out, you could hit it over here. Auto is the best way to bring it in and out if you have the character generator open.
That comes on the default. That you can get live as well.
Correct. So let's record another clip to our new volume with this one graphic happening down below, and then I'll record another clip with another effect or something so we have distinct content. So Time Machine 1 is the one that has this current content on it. We're going to go to Time Machine 2 in this, and this is the Time Machine clip playback DDR panel that I got in here. And so that's here now. I've chosen record to Time Machine 2. The volume is called TM7. That's what I named the volume because the card is in slot 7. We'll be recording video and channels 1 and 2, even though there's no audio currently connected to the GlobeCaster, which is also something we might want to figure out how to do. Take a program feed from your mixer or from a distribution amplifier or something into the GlobeCaster. And it's also set to program output. So this is that I could change here. If I didn't want to record program out, I could record an input. So if I wanted to just do an ISO on a camera shot, like a wide or something, you know, I could do that here.
And that would be your inputs. Yeah, you want.
Correct, correct. So in this case, I am going to record program out, and I'm ready to record now. So I hit the record button, and it's recorded. It's doing a record countdown, which is an annoying feature that I like to turn off immediately when I forget that it's on.
And what input is it recording?
It's recording program out. So it's recording this right now, right? So
these are just the labels. You just put this as labels.
correct.
That's just anything that you can label it that you're comfortable with.
Well, what I'm saying, these here are dictating when, or that's telling me what it's on. So if I went, if I go back to my time machines in here, you see how this is TM7. It tells me which volume that I'm recording it to.
So you wouldn't look for your clips and stuff.
Right. I'm going to turn off this record delay because that always gets like that. Let's say no delay. Okay, so now I'm going to make the image on the screen look a little bit different. We're going to grab some different effects here. We'll put this guy on. I'm just dragging and dropping. This content folder you're seeing over here is probably, it's one you haven't seen before. This is from a content pack that, you know, we have, obviously, you know, at Global Streams. Let's put something else. That's quite cool. So, you know, you can just drop stuff in. There's our control surface. So I'm going to record this now. Do you want to save the clip? Yeah. So it's recording another clip. And the reason I'm doing this is I want to be able to show you 4 clips playing back simultaneously, what that means. Okay, so I have a few seconds of that. So we're going to save that. Now, on TM7, I've got a couple of clips. Right? It's where it was empty before. And we can get rid of all these effects just by stopping them all. And these are the original 2 clips that we had loaded up. And we'll go pull up this. Now it's asking me, do I want to assign audio channels for the time machine? You know, in case there's audio on this. I'll go ahead and do that real quick.
So you're creating these effects and you got your presenter talking to some guy on Skype, and then you just want your audio to come in standard, whatever audio is coming in. You just assign it to both the clips, or you just make. So
the way it works in audio land for GlobeCaster, oops, I didn't want that. I'm going to choose that. And choose,
now we have been clicking on
the
open panel.
Correct.
Because we'll be using audio as well, just in case for the intro. We don't have to ignore the file. We have to open the panel and.
Once you set it, you won't have to set it again unless you want to change it.
Okay.
Yeah, so once it's assigned, and we can change that. I just quickly assigned it, but we can make those changes. Once they're set, you can manage them by bringing up your audio mixer panel here. So I just set 5 and 6 to be your playback for TM5, and then I set 9, 10, 11, and 12 to be for TM7. And you can come in here and write down, you know, TM7, you know, 1, you know, you can know what you're looking at.
Do you have any frequency manipulation on these mixes?
Yeah, if you go into the EQ, you can come in and adjust, you know, your mids, flat, and high, and, you know, come test all this good stuff.
Individually set the frequency.
Okay, the idea of Mike, the idea of new GlobeCaster is to utilize audio facilities of the GlobeCaster, inbuilt GlobeCaster itself. Is it recommendable?
Well, what I would use this audio panel for, and the sound in GlobeCaster, is for clip storage and playback. You know, you're not going to manage live microphones from here like you would from a board. First of all, we do not provide phantom power. So if you've got a microphone, you need to be hooked up to a mixer that will provide power for it. Otherwise, the audio levels are very weak on the microphone. So best setup for this is to have a line out of a mixer, like a program send from your mixer into the GlobeCaster, so that you can get audio from whatever it is you're wanting to record, and then a feed or a program feed from GlobeCaster back into the mixer. So I said line out. I mean, you could do an aux out or whatever you want off the audio mixer. The only thing you have to be careful about is feedback. So if we're feeding the GlobeCaster and the GlobeCaster is feeding the mixer, you want to make sure that when you're not on the GlobeCaster playing back, your faders are down for the GlobeCaster, right, or muted. Otherwise, you can get a recursive feedback, really, really annoying.
So would it be ideal then not to give audio through GlobeCaster directly from the audio mixer to the recording device VTR?
Again, I mean, you don't have for this kind of stuff, you don't need audio. But if you want to play back a clip that's stored inside the GlobeCaster versus on a VTR, then you're going to need to have an audio feed out of the GlobeCaster. If you want to record something, to the GlobeCaster, some quick little spot or something like, coming up at, 7 or whatever, you can record that in here and play it back from here if you want. But it's not going to be your primary audio, for sure.
So we're doing a 30-minute show. Would it be easier just to record it in the GlobeCaster if the drive space is there, and then take a clip from there to edit it?
No, only because the export process from GlobeCaster is 4 times real time. So if you've got a 30-minute show, it's going to take like 2 hours to get it out of here to go edit it somewhere else. So, I mean, if you have all the live stuff done, like if you get into maybe a week from now, you're cool with like 1 DSK up, 2 weeks you're doing two DSKs and a double box effect. As you become more confident and comfortable with all the features, then it might get to the point where you produce the whole thing right here live. And in that case, it does make sense to record it here because you don't have to do any more work in post. But in that case, though, you could be taking the output of the GlobeCaster into a record device, or an encoder itself, capture it live in MPEG or whatever you want it to be. I would do that actually. SDI out, embed the audio right into an encoder that's capturing an MPEG-2 or whatever you want to keep it in, whatever format your playout server accepts. So.
An easy fix, is there any chance of us just playing around manipulating and changing it totally, or would it stay there all the time, the one that you've set up when you're...
Some of them are modifiable and some of them are not.
So why be playing around if you trust the loading button, you wouldn't destroy that?
No, you're fine. In fact, all this content that I've installed is also on these disks. Okay. So you've got backups for that. Let's see here, TM5. Let's load up another clip over here. And I'll choose.
So on the time machine, if you just click on it, it'll load on the first available one, and then it goes to the next available one.
Correct. Oh, that's locked. That's why. I was wondering why it wasn't loading the clip there. All right. So I know we've got tons of content here. There's 2, and that one's from today. All right, so right now it's only giving me 3 time machine buttons. Let's see here. Where is that? Got that one loaded up. We might have to swap these monitors around, which we can do that later. The reason I'm saying that is this monitor won't allow me to do 1280 by 1024, which would allow me to get 3 more of these buttons. Right now I'm limited to 4 soft buttons, and you can actually get 3 more of these so you can manage more content. That's something simple. But the idea is you could get to all your clips right here. Right? So I'm going back and forth between these 3 clips.
With those soft buttons, you could assign any type of effect you want by just putting it there. So if say you have 6, you could have whatever you want in there.
These can be frame stores, which are stills.
Okay.
They can be time machine clips. They can be a matte color, like a solid color, black, yellow, orange, whatever. They can be your output from the GlobeCaster brought back in.
Okay.
And they can be what's called a key or frame store, which is also a new feature
So
for
you got
Chroma
your
Key.
output from Globe Store, you can key frame store what the output if you got a image that you want to use again.
Correct. So we're gonna we'll change that too. So I need to move those input cards down. Or these inputs 5 through 8 need to become 1 through 4, and vice versa. And I'm gonna swap these monitors out, I think, tonight too.
Okay, one question.
Mhm.
Before you go in.
Yep.
Time machines, because now at least we're able to put more than 2.
Right.
So if you have like you've been doing 3 or 4 time machines
Mm-hmm.
that are active, and then the way you've been manipulating it on the screen,
Mm-hmm.
can you have 4 guests appearing in different, like say we're just making it like they're appearing in different places,
Mm-hmm.
and they're having like a conference or talk or
Yes.
something.
Mm-hmm. Yes. What I need to do is I need another button over here in order to do that. I mean, I can swap these now if you guys want the monitors around, but
Let's do it, no, because
While you speak,
my we have four cameras, so we will need 4 inputs
Right.
at the same time. So let's do that, and then I'll continue with the recording.
okay.
swap it by just assigning 1 and 2 to the different thing. Whatever, physically swapping.
Yeah, I have to physically. Actually, no, I can assign the switcher over here.
Yeah.
So I'll just do that. So what we'll do is we'll go the switcher over on this side, which means I need to stop my recording.